right, let's go ahead and take a look at what that dynastic cycle is. Okay, so we left off with the mandate of heaven. The mandate of heaven is, says, the gods said, I get to be king. The uh, Shang dynasty came, or the Zhou dynasty came in and overthrew the Shang dynasty because they got too weak. Well, according to the dynastic cycle, that meant that according to the mandate of heaven, the Shang no longer had the mandate. Okay? Well, the mandate of heaven was instituted by the Zhou. So the Zhou basically said, well, the gods no longer approve of you being in charge of China. They no longer approve of you being on the throne. So you're too weak, you're out. And so this is what the dynastic cycle is. Okay? So the first part is the people believe that the gods approved the new dynasty. So it was very important that the people believed that the gods approved it. Okay? The next step, okay? Number 2 is that that new dynasty, okay? Over time weakens, gets weaker. Okay, and again, that is over time. Okay, and by new dynasty, we're talking about this one here. Okay, so that's the new dynasty that we're talking about. So over time, this new dynasty that's been approved, over time it gets weaker and weaker and weaker. And that's just the natural order of things. Okay? The third part of the cycle, okay, is that disaster starts to occur. Now, these could be natural disasters, economic, they could be political. Okay? But some kind of disasters have to occur. Okay? Now, the fourth part of the cycle is that the people believe, again, it's the people believe that the gods no longer approve of the dynasty. Okay, and the current dynasty is going to be that one up there. Okay, and it is again the people believe. Oops, believe, not believe. Okay, so that's going to be this dynasty right here. Okay, that the gods, okay, it's the gods no longer approve of the current dynasty. Okay, and we have step number 5. Okay, step number 5 is that dynasty is overthrown. Okay, so the dynasty is overthrown. Out with the old, in with the new. And then step 6, last but not least, a new dynasty reestablishes order. Or takes over. So here's that new dynasty again. Okay, now why is this called a cycle? Because it keeps repeating. Okay, it is rinse and repeat. It just keeps going and going and going and going. It's a cycle. Okay, that is the dynastic cycle. And I just noticed that I did not put the Y at the end of dynasty there. Okay, so we're still continuing, or still going along with the Zhou dynasty here. So the Zhou dynasty had, so their form of government what kind of government did they have? Well, the first 200 years. Okay, remember the Zhou dynasty lasted for 800 years. Was it exactly 800 years? No, it was approximately 800 years, so somewhere around there. So for the first 200 years, they had a strong central government. Okay, and this is probably when they were in step one of the cycle. Okay, the people approved, and they probably should have stayed right there. Okay, because here's, I think, where they started to kind of mess up is after that first 200 years. Okay, but well, what is a strong central government, by the way? Okay, what's a central government? Okay, so a strong central government is where there's one main government. So it's one main government that's in charge of all the states. So it's over all of the states or regions. The land. In the land or the territory. Okay. Right. So, like I said, the next venture that they got into is where I would say that they kind of messed up. Okay, during the last 500 years, so after that first 200 years, they kind of messed up, I think, in my opinion. During their last 500 years, they divided the lands. Okay, they had a bunch of local lords. Okay, so what that means is that they divided the lands. The lands were divided. Okay, and the lands divided means that each of uh, the lords that owned a piece of land of China, okay, wanted more. Okay, and since each one wanted more, they fought. Okay, so there was a lot of fighting. They fought each other. And they disobeyed the king or the kings over time, over the 500 years. Okay. And in 475 BC, we enter what's called the period of warring states. Which is literally what this all is. Okay? That's what's going on. It's nothing but fighting. And then 256 BCE. Remember, it could be BC, it could be BCE, it's all the same. Okay? It's the same thing as the end of the Zhou dynasty. So the last Zhou king fell in 256 BCE. Okay. Now, during the time of the Zhou, three philosophies were developed in response to the way that China was governed. Okay, one of those we've already learned a bit about, and that was Confucianism. So let's take a look at Confucianism and its two contemporaries. Okay, now set up that paper like this here. And what we have here is founder, date, teachings, and main ideas. Okay, and our 3 philosophies that we're going to be talking about, I'll write their names up here. And while you're setting your paper up here, okay, we have Confucianism, Taoism, and legalism. Okay. Right, so we have 3 columns all together, and then of course these over here on the side. Okay. And our main title here is going to be 3 Philosophies of Zhou China. Okay, so I'm going to take each one at a time. I'll do so I'll do like Confucianism all the way down, then I'll go Taoism, and then I'll go legalism. Okay, so when I move the paper down, okay, so I'll go all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, and then I'll get all the way to the bottom, right? And then I'm going to bring it back up. Then I'm going to go down to the bottom. I'm going to go back up. Okay, so if you don't get something from the top quickly enough, it's going to come back up. Okay, but don't waste time either. Okay, all right, so the founder of Confucianism. Okay, obviously you already know that. His name was Confucius. Okay, and we know that he was born in 551 BC. And he died in 479 BC. Okay, that's his life. Okay, now Taoism itself, or sorry, Confucianism itself, was founded somewhere around 500 BC. Okay, somewhere around there. Okay, that's what the circa means. It's somewhere around there. Okay, there's no exact date that I know of. Okay, I'm sure that there's something specifically somewhere, but what you need to know, okay, is that it's somewhere around 500. If you do know, then, put it there, tell me, and we can correct. Okay? All right, so what were the teachings of Confucianism? Okay, so we know that Confucius grew up, okay, looking at these dates, okay, he grew up, I mean, all of these are during the Zhou Dynasty, right? When these ideas came about. Okay, so Confucius grew up during, when things were run the way they were run, the way the government was run, the way society was. And so everything that all these ideas that he's coming up with, they are in response to that. Okay, the way when he's working in the government, okay, and when he works in, all the other jobs that he works in. Okay, it's all in a reaction to that. Okay, how his father and his grandfather and his uncle worked. Okay, it's all in response to that. Okay, so his philosophies, though, based on his experiences. Okay, this is what he teaches. Okay, first and foremost, respect authority. And each other. So basically, the first thing is he's saying is respect. Just respect. Okay? And then he says, we all have a duty to each other. Okay? Everybody has a duty to one another based upon this set of 5 relationships. Okay? We have duties to each other, duties and responsibilities. In 5 relationships. Now, Confucius really only breaks down these 5 relationship areas. He does not break it down, designate it in any other relationships. He really only puts it in these 5 categories. Okay? First of all, it's ruler and subject. Then it's father and son. Next is husband and wife. Next is older brother to younger brother. Now, we could say it's older sibling to younger sibling. So it really depends on what you look at um, to see, if it's sibling or brother. Okay, and then finally, it's friend and friend. Pink's just too close there. Or yellow is. Friend to friend. Now, he doesn't designate anything with mother-son, mother-daughter, father-daughter, okay, anything like that. It's just these 5 relationships that he specifically designates and says that these people have duties and responsibilities to each other. Okay, some specific duties. Okay, so Confucius promoted education. So basically, he said education is very important. He emphasized family unity. And he put high importance on filial piety. Okay, now that was another vocabulary term that you had, but I'll go ahead and put it here anyway. Okay, that is the respect that children owe to parents and ancestors. So to elders in general. Okay. And he said that family and community come first, above yourself. So what is the lasting influence, or what was the influence, that Confucius had on China? Okay, so he had a big influence on government. Okay, prior to the institution of, or prior to this, okay, people got into government based on the family that they were in, the people that they knew, okay, their social status. But influence, there we go. But once Confucius's teachings became so widely accepted, they became a very important part of what's called the civil service exams. Okay, and the civil service exams were literal tests that men, yes, it would be only men, could take to get their government jobs. That meant that government jobs would now be based on skill. And knowledge. Okay, so that is going to be the lasting influence of Confucius, at least as far as the government goes. And Confucianism is actually a philosophy that still remains prominent in China and around the world today. Okay, I'm going to take us back up to the top to Taoism. Okay, so Taoism was founded by a man named now it looks like it says Lao Tzu. It's Lao Tzu. Okay. Now I don't know his years of life, but I do know that he was also a contemporary of Confucius, and his and Taoism was founded around the same time, so that's also going to be circa 500 BC. Okay, and Taoism taught that we should live in harmony with nature. And the Tao. So what is the Tao? Okay, so this is where my inner Star Wars comes out. Okay, this is where I start to see Taoism. I see Taoism and I think Star Wars. Okay, and if you are a Star Wars fan, you will see why. Okay, the Tao means the way. This is the way. Okay, and Tao is it is the force that binds all things together. Okay, Taoism promotes order and balance. And it teaches that we should blend with nature like drops of water in a stream. Which means we just kind of melt right in. It's just so natural. You can't tell where one ends and the other begins. And much like Hinduism, Taoism teaches that we should give up our worldly desires. Now, this symbol you may have seen before. This is the yin and yang symbol. Okay, so the yin symbol, the yin side over here, okay, this is the dark side. Okay, so we have the dark side, we have the light side. Yeah, more Star Wars here. Okay, this represents shade. It represents water. Represents west. And it represents the tiger. And then the light side over here, the yang. Okay, so that represents obviously light. Okay, fire. East. And now, so light's the opposite of shade, fire, opposite of water, east, the opposite of west. Well, what's the opposite of a tiger? Well, apparently it's a dragon. Okay. Now, separately, these two are opposing ideas. But together, balance brings harmony to the universe. Or the galaxy. Okay, so that's Confucianism and Taoism, both very peaceful philosophies, very harmonious, right? And then we have legalism. So legalism is also called the school of law. Law being the legal part. Okay, and the man who founded this, well, so there's no identified single founder of legalism, but the man who gets credit for writing it down, okay, is a man named Han Feizi. Okay, so he gets credit for writing it down. Okay, so it was developed circa 400 BC. Okay, but it was written to 60 BC. Okay. So Hanfeizi wrote it down about 260 BC. Now, legalism was not one of those peaceful religion or philosophies. Okay? It was actually very harsh. Okay, legalism taught that order must be gained through strong government and system of laws. And his reasoning behind this was that humans are naturally evil. So they must be kept in place. Keep people in their place with a strict set of laws. Strict laws and harsh punishments. Those are absolutely necessary to keep people in their places. And the only way to get people to do what they're supposed to do, therefore, is force. Now, legalism did have a lot of support. It had support of the aristocrats. Not all aristocrats, many aristocrats. Why? Why did it have the support of the aristocrats? Why did the aristocrats not just want this nice balance? Well, it was easier for them. Okay, the needs and wishes of the people did not have to be considered. Simple. They didn't have to think about what the regular average people wanted. It was easier for them. Unfortunately, what this led to was punishments for even the smallest of crimes. Now, of course, all crimes should be punished in some way, shape, or form, right? So let's make sure that we add this harsh punishments for even the smallest of crimes. And there we go. The 3 philosophies of Zhou China. So we have the background of the Shang, so the earliest beginnings of ancient China, the second major dynasty, and the philosophies that came out of it. Confucianism, Taoism, and legalism, the school of law. Which one would you rather have followed? Make up your mind.